1, 2, 3. Hello and welcome back. We are so excited you're here. We're going to do a recap of week 22, 23, 24 and 25. So we have so much we want to share with you. But first, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I mean, you've been amazing. Melissa's been super energetic, feeling amazing, really balanced, looking incredible. Actually, let's cut to a little quick baby bump. And we're back. So she's looking amazing, as you can see. I'm good. How are you feeling?
I feel good. Right now, as we record this, we are 26 and a half weeks, but we're going to do a recap of the last 4 weeks. But right now, I'm 26 and a half weeks, almost at third trimester. I feel amazing. This trimester has been awesome. So good. So much energy. It's been fun. No food aversions. I've oftentimes forgot I'm even pregnant, and then you look down and you're like, oh, yeah. So that's how I felt like me again, which has been awesome.
What else we got there, darling? So we're going to refer to some notes here.
Yes.
That we've been making for you, so we'll take you through that.
So I want to share with you something that I did in week 23 actually, which was some body work I did with one of my midwives. So I have 2 midwives. They work together as a team. They're private midwives. They always work together as a team. They have for years and they're incredible. And one of them offers this shamanic embodiment body work. It's basically yoni de-armoring. And they offer this, you don't have to do it, but it's part of their package.
First of all, what's a yoni? Because not everyone may know what a yoni is.
Oh, okay. Okay, yoni is your vulva, your vagina, the whole area down there. So I want to explain what this work I did with my midwife was. And basically, we do 2 sessions before birth, and then 6 weeks after birth, we do another session where we kind of check back in, and she goes in and has a look around and make sure everything's all good. So basically, this session, I rock up to my midwife's place where I have my sessions, and it's a 4-hour long session. So the first 2 hours, we are talking about anything that is really bubbling up for me at the moment, any fears, anything that was right on the surface for me. So we almost had like a talk therapy session for 2 hours. Then we get into the practical side of things. And I have no clothes on from the waist down. And she starts by massaging your thighs, and your legs are kind of like wrapped around her. And she starts by massaging your thighs with organic coconut oil. And then using her hands, enters you. And she does what I talk about in my second book, Open Wide. I talk about de-armoring. So basically, this is a process because women store a lot of emotions and trauma in our uterus. We need to release them. So she does some processes without sharing too much information, kind of goes around pressing 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, holding pressure on those areas. And she would ask me, out of 1 to 10, what does the pain feel like there? Or is there any emotion? And I was doing a lot of deep breathing. My eyes were closed the whole time. It was almost like a meditation. It was really quite beautiful, powerful, incredibly vulnerable, like probably the most vulnerable I've ever felt in my life. And going through this process was really big and healing. A lot of emotions came up. She does some perineal stuff. She goes up to your cervix, and then she obviously grounds and closes you. And that went for 2 hours. 2 hours. And I was just exhausted afterwards. And I said to her, wow, that was so powerful. I can see now how this work is so important to do in pregnancy for prep for birth. So they offer 2 sessions before birth. I said to her, why don't you do more? Like, I feel like obviously a lot of women would have a lot more stuff that comes to the surface, a lot of emotions, a lot of trauma that has been stored there. Why do they not do more? And she said 2, what they have seen in their research over the years, 2 is a really good number to, and they do it from, 24 weeks. And then I do another one. When is my next one? It's in February. So I'm in my 3rd trimester. So around 32 weeks or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember off the top of my head. So I have those 2 sessions before I go into birth. And they have told us that the women that do this work beforehand have a lot shorter and a lot less painful births compared to the women who say, oh, I don't want to do that work. So they have women that do want to do it, they have women that don't, and comparatively, the women that do definitely have shorter and a lot less painful births. So
for the most part.
For the most part. So I put my hand up and I was a willing participant, a willing woman, as Rhea Dempsey calls it, and I dove in and I just did it. I came home and Nick said, how did you go? And I was like, I just need to go into my bedroom and I need to just lay down and I need to journal and I need to process everything that came up. It was huge, amazing, huge and amazing.
Yeah, good on you for doing it.
Yes, so, I mean, I've had one friend who's done this before, but it is becoming more and more common, this de-armoring work. You can do it with a practitioner. So you can find, and it's really important that you find someone who's really good and qualified. There's probably lots of people out there that do this work, but you've got to find someone who's qualified and also find someone who you resonate with. Okay, that's really important. Find someone who you resonate with. And dive into it because it's really, really important and powerful stuff. So I've got another session coming up in a couple of weeks, which will be interesting to see how it differed from the first one. And so I wanted to share that. Do you want to share anything?
No, I think it's amazing you did it. I think it's the sort of work which is almost to some extent similar to, say, like prostate massage. These parts of the body which just don't really get much attention, certainly really conscious, loving attention. And they're really important parts of the body which, I think we need to bring this into the mainstream and make it more common, and speak about it. So I think it's great that you're doing that work, and I'm sure it will pay off for you.
We have also had some sessions with one of our Vedic mentors and meditation teachers who has really been guiding us on our parenting journey a little bit, which has been really helpful and supportive. I think embarking on this new journey together is really big. So we've been having some mentoring sessions and just making sure that we are on the same page and we've got some tools, and that was really incredible to do that, don't you think?
Yeah, it's something which we were both sort of feeling, and I think I reached out, didn't I, initially to organise it, because for me personally, I felt like going into being parents, there were things in our relationship where, let's face it, relationships are work, right? And we need to always be working on our relationships. And I felt like there were some things happening which I just didn't really want to carry forward much longer. Like these little things, little behaviours which could be improved or elevated. So the sessions we've had, his name is Gary Goro, he's a friend of ours, an amazing Vedic teacher.
And we'll link to him below.
Yeah, and the number of tools and the amount of clarity we've got from working with Gary is pretty extraordinary, like really extraordinary. And it wasn't just parenting, we actually applied it to, we had a session completely devoted to another part of our life, which is totally separate to parenting, but still kind of connected in some senses. So it's been really great to work on some of these things and not just kind of hope that, baby will come and
it'll all be good.
It'll all be good and these things will, take care of themselves. Because I've always been mindful of that, because you don't want to think that having a baby is going to fix things for you, That's not the point of it. The point of it is to bring this beautiful consciousness into the planet and be a guardian, essentially, to make sure that consciousness can really flourish in this lifetime. So, there's definitely things for me personally I felt like, playing pretty average game in that area of my life. I really want to lift it, and still plenty to do before she's born.
And forever and ever and ever and ever. That's the thing. Like, we're always growing and we're always evolving and we're always learning and up-leveling and expanding. You never get to a place where you're like, hey, I'm done doing the work on myself or on my relationships. So really cultivate that student for life mentality. You know, we're always reading and learning and seeking support from our mentors. Like, we've got a list of mentors that we could reach out to and confide in, which is really important, not just on your parenting journey, but in every area of your life. Like, get support. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I see it a lot with women, you know, especially in trimester 4, they really struggle to ask for help and support. Like, I have no issues asking for support and help. None. Like, I'm happy to go, Mum, or to your mum, I would love for you to come over and hold the babes while I have a shower or whatever. I have no shame in that. And I think if shame does come up or guilt does come up for you, then really look at that and address it now before the baby comes. And just remember, you know, Nick and I are always doing the work on ourselves. We're doing the work on our relationship, and it's a lifetime thing.
Indeed. There's one other thing which I wanted to mention, which I learned, which I was quite interested about. I shared this with Melissa, and it's to do with postnatal depression. And of course, like if you listen to Melissa's podcast, there's an episode there on postnatal depletion with
Dr. Oscar.
Dr. Oscar.
And we'll link to that below.
Yeah, which is an amazing episode. And one key drivers in this, which I was not aware of, and it makes so much sense when you think about it, is that when you're breastfeeding, the baby's basically sucking up all the calcium supply. So your body's just getting drained of calcium. And calcium and the parathyroid go together, right? Parathyroid needs calcium. So I found this really interesting. And so some of the things you can do when you're breastfeeding to just support that is lots of berries. Lots of berries.
Wild, organic, blueberries,
Just
any berries.
Lots of berries, because that's also going to help your milk supply. Fruit's really great for milk supply. Obviously, calcium-rich foods. The most rich one would be sesame seeds, tahini, which is an amazing source of calcium.
Which is so good for me because I love tahini.
She does.
I could drink it.
Yeah.
So good.
And you can also support yourself with parathyroid supportive herbs during breastfeeding and making sure that they're okay for breastfeeding. But there's a whole bunch of different herbs you can use for the parathyroid. So I thought that was really interesting because I hadn't really heard that before. It was such a specific thing that the majority of postnatal depression coming from a weakened parathyroid because of this calcium depletion. So anyway, just a little tip. I thought that was really interesting. Definitely look into it more. We're still sort of discovering these sorts of things, but that's definitely something we'll be watching, is making sure that we're supporting Melissa's parathyroid during breastfeeding.
Yes, and make sure you check out that episode with Dr. Oscar. And just going back to one thing that we found really supportive with Gary in our mentoring session, I want to share a little bit about this because this will be super supportive, the masculine and the feminine roles, and his analogy of the ocean and the water. Do you want to share it?
Yeah, basically that the feminine is, and again, you know, I have feminine in me, masculine. Melissa has feminine and masculine. But of course, I'm a man, she's a woman, so there's more masculine in me, more feminine in her. And the ocean is sort of a great way to visualize it because you have the masculine, which is the ocean floor, ever present, ever stable, grounded, and then you've got the top, the surface, which is the feminine, the waves, which is always changing, always moving. And there's varying degrees of ocean floor and waves in every single person, man and woman, of course. But understanding that and knowing that when there are moments when the feminine is feeling a bit more...
Maybe she's a tsunami?
Stormy. A bit more stormy is knowing that the masculine role is not to, you know, supply wind for that, is to actually be the ocean floor, to be that stable grounding force. And honestly, you know, I think that in the last sort of 6 months, I think I've forgotten some of these basic principles. Not forgotten, but haven't really been practicing some of these things, and I've forgotten my role to a degree. So it was really nice to be reminded of some of these things because it's just the nature. Like, women are totally different to men. It's just
completely
how it is. It's how it is. Yeah.
And we can't expect them to be like us and they can't expect us to be like them. We're so different. And Gary just really shone some light on that for us. You know, he really reminded us that we're so different. Our hormones are so different. And maybe, you know, 2 books that really helped us 7 years ago was the work of David Dida. So Nick read The Way of the Superior Man, I read Dear Lover, and maybe we need to go back and reread our notes. And we'll link to those books below, but those books were really, really powerful because that's exactly the concept that David talks about, you know, the feminine being the flag, the masculine being that flagpole, and then the feminine being that flag that just is going wild all around her, around that sturdy foundation of the flagpole. So
I've actually got a podcast episode where I kind of summarize my key takeaways from The Way of the Superior Man. So we'll also link to that below. You can read it or listen to it. Amazing for men and women to check that out because it's really important to understand both polarities. So yeah, that was definitely a good thing to bring up. That was really important.
Another thing that we've been doing over the last 4 weeks, well, I've been doing, is reading the book Unconditional Parenting. Haven't finished it just yet. So far, it's incredible. It's really good, and I highly recommend that you read it. I will do a little summary of it once I've finished, but it's incredible. And we'll link to that below as well. And the final thing that I wanted to talk to you about was my last midwife appointment, which was last week, week 25. So how my midwives work, and everyone's different, but so everyone who is birthing during the month of April, there's 4 of us, we all have our sessions together. So once a month we go together and we have both of our midwives, and it's about 2 hours long, and we discuss the topic for that month. Then we have our checks. That's basically the process. Then when it gets into 3rd trimester, I think we start going every 2 weeks, and then later it's every week, and they come to your house. So the midwives come to your house, which is just amazing because we're birthing at home. So last week, week 25.
Right there.
Over there, we're birthing right there. I was like, what are you pointing at? We're birthing over there, yes. So last week, week 25, I had my midwife session with the other girls, which was amazing. It's really beautiful to also meet 3 other women who are on the same journey, who are birthing within the same month. And 2 of them, this is their 2nd, and then there's 2 of us, which is our 1st, which is really, really exciting. And I want to share with you 4 of the key takeaways from that session. So we spoke a lot about, my midwives are very spiritual, and we spoke a lot about the labyrinth of birth. Now, Pam England, who has also been on my podcast, I'll link to that episode below. It's an incredible episode. She wrote the book Birthing from Within. If you haven't read that, so good. Read it, dive into it. But she also wrote The Labyrinth of Birth. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me on that. And basically, they talk about creating a labyrinth for your labor. And a labyrinth is very different to a maze. A labyrinth, there's one way in and one way out. And with a maze, there's multiple ways in and there's multiple ways out. And she describes, well, my midwife described that in labor, it's a journey. And she said, if you can, during labor or even during your pregnancy, go and walk a labyrinth. So if you can look them up and see if there's one in your area. You can find one and then just go and walk it. It's a moving meditation, basically. If you don't have one near you, grab some chalk and go out onto the road and draw one. And use that as your moving meditation every day. So it's a great thing that you can do during your pregnancy and then also when you start labor. And another thing you can do is our midwives want me to create my own labyrinth. So you can get a piece of linen and you can draw it up. And then what she did was she stuck shells, tiny little shells, the whole way around. And what you do is you trace your finger around the labyrinth whilst you're in labor, during the contractions. It's a form of meditation. It gives your mind something to focus on. Like we practice Vedic meditation, which we love and adore. We've done for, 10 years, me 7, 8 years. And what it does, what Vedic meditation does, is it gives your mind a tool to focus on. The labyrinth is the same sort of thing. It gives your mind a tool to focus on, to give, it's almost like a child having a tantrum, you know, they could go into that fight or flight part of their brain, but when they've got something to kind of focus on, it stops them from going into that pain or that fear or that frustration. So I'm going to create my labyrinth. That's my little art project, and I was thinking of doing it with either shells or sand or crystals or something like that. So I'll share more about that once I've done it, maybe in a later video. So read that book, and maybe you want to create a labyrinth for yourself as well for labor, and maybe you want to grab some chalk and go and draw one on the street for yourself, or find one locally in your area that you can use during your pregnancy. So that's the first thing I wanted to share with you. The second thing is finding a nursery rhyme that you really connect with, that you can start singing every day to your baby now. And then when your baby is here and maybe they're unsettled, you can try singing that song to them again, and instantly it will calm them. Not all the time, but this is what my midwives have said, that from what they've seen through all of the births that they've been at, the mother that really takes that time to sing that nursery rhyme to their child every single day. When the child is unsettled at nighttime, the mother will start singing it again, or the father, and that baby will instantly calm down. And it's such a beautiful thing to do. We have our song, it's called I Am Light, and I'll link to it below. It's so beautiful, and I've been singing it every day and playing it. It's just a really beautiful thing to do. The third thing that I wanted to share with you is choosing one piece of relaxation music. So I've started to create a playlist, a birthing playlist, which I can link to. It's in Spotify. I'll link to it below. I've started creating a birthing playlist, but they really want you to find one piece of music, and maybe it's a classical song or yoga music or meditation or Kundalini mantras or something like that, but one piece of music that really, when you listen to, you just go, ah. And that is going to be a key point, a key song for your birthing playlist. Share it with your partner, share it with your midwives, and say, this is my song.
For transition.
This is my song for transition. So when I'm in transition, press play on this song, or tell the midwife, or tell whoever else is in the space that this song is the one that you want. Because music is so powerful. It's like essential oils. You know, they're anchors. Use them to help you get into that feeling that you want to get into. So I'll link to that below. And then the last thing, the fourth thing that I wanted to share with you was about meditation. So my midwives are huge on meditation. Doing a daily meditation and breath work every single day really is going to be so helpful for your birthing. I feel very grateful that I've already got a really solid meditation practice. I have had for 8 years. I do 20 minutes twice a day, and I've incorporated some breath work into that for birthing, but just making sure you're doing a daily meditation, whether it's a hypnosis birthing meditation or a guided meditation or Vedic meditation, whatever resonates with you, because you will need that during labor. It's going to be one of those anchors, like the essential oils, like the music, like yoga poses, whatever it is. But find all of these anchors that really make you feel good, that you can pull out of your toolkit during birthing.
Yeah, actually stay tuned to, go to Melissa's website and subscribe to her newsletter, because we're going to be releasing a new product called Zentones. And the Zentones are basically really, really advanced audio technology, which I've been working on with an engineer who's based in India and who understands all the brainwave technology, mixed in 8D, which I don't know if you've heard 8D music, but it's phenomenal. So it sort of sounds like the music's like way over there and then way back here. And it creates this beautiful spaciousness when you're meditating. So we'll be launching Zentones in the coming months, so definitely stay tuned for that, because we'll be letting you know on the newsletter email list. So yeah.
And that would be an incredible meditation to listen to during pregnancy, and also my manifestation meditation. I've been doing that to manifest the birth that I desire. So I'll link to that as well. All you have to do is head to my website, melissaambrosini.com/newsletter, and you get my manifestation meditation totally free. So, anything else?
No.
That is it, my friends.
It's a good wrap up of a month's worth of birth stuff. And plenty more to come. So stay tuned for the next video. We've already done a whole bunch of videos, so make sure you check those out. And thank you again for being here. We love you. Mwah.
Ciao, ciao.